Hello and welcome back to Chapter 8. This video is going to go over the Chapter 8 grader. If you're having trouble understanding the different elements of this grader, make sure that you watch my Chapter 8 vocab video. So here we go. Let's take a look at the grader. Alright, so before you dive into this, make sure that you understand what this worksheet is trying to say. So we basically have a company and they're projecting sales over a year or 12 months. Basically. So they think that their sales are going to be 156,250 and that they're going to grow by 10% each month. Okay? And they think that their costs related to sales, aka the variable costs, are going to be about 87%. So that's how they got that. They say, hey, whatever my sales are, my COGS, which are great expense for most companies, are going to be 87%. So what is my gross profit and loss going to be? So anytime that you're creating a business, you want to know, okay, let's project how much money we can make using some criteria that makes sense, that is doable. All right, so down here they say, okay, month one, growth percent, sales, cost related. So these are all the variables and things going into gross profit and loss, okay? So what they want us to do is change this to 6 for a little while. Notice how the gross profit loss matches right here, which it should, right? If I put that to 2, it should match the second month, 15,422. So here, go to 6. And it's saying to change this to 11%. And it says, hey, open up Solver. And let's make our objective this right here to be a break even, all right? I don't want to be in the negative after month 6. I want to break even by month 6. So I'm going to go to data, which is where my solver is. If you don't have the solver added in, then you can always go through, I think it's under options, file options, you go to add-ins, and you would want to find the solver add-in and add it in, and also you're going to be needing the analysis tool pack as well. So make sure you add in both. Alright, so here we go to solver, and it says in solver we want to say, hey, how can we get that to be break even? That means you're not losing money, but you're not making money. That's called the break even point, by changing my gross required sales rate in my COGS. Oh, I'm sorry, by changing these two. I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong ones. By changing this one and this one. All right, those are the ones that are directly going into B20. All right, so when I was going through this, I kept missing the points because for some reason, whoever made the key actually input a constraint that said that this had to be equal to 11%. So just go ahead and add that constraint in. Then we're going to press solve. We're going to say solve, save scenario, and we're going to call this the 11% growth. We're going to press OK, and then we're going to go back to our original values. Press OK. So now it should say negative 2007, okay? Now we're going to basically go back to solver, and instead of the constraint being 11%, we're going to, you can either delete it and add it again, or we can say change, and instead of saying equal to 11%, we're now going to equal 10%, press OK, press solve, we're going to say save scenario, and that's going to be called 10% growth. Restore original values, okay. How do I know if I'm adding these correctly or if they're even saving? I can always go to what if analysis, go to scenario manager, and they should be there. Kind of like name manager. Right, the last one they want to say is they want us to change delete the current constraint and say, what if I insist what if instead of changing my growth rate, I was changing my COGS. Okay, so I'm gonna go to solver, I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna say, hey, instead of changing percent growth, what if I was changing COGS? And what if it had to be 85%, but you can change the other one? I would say solve, and it changed it to 85. So if my COGS had to be 85%, then my growth rate would have to be 9%. I can save that as 85% costs. That's okay. And notice how that changed two variables at the same time. That's the great thing about Scenario Manager. Could restore original values and press OK. Now I could have actually gotten those answers by using GoalSeek, since most of those I was changing just one variable at a time. I could have said, hey, GoalSeek, what if I wanted to change that to 0 by changing, let's just say COGS. So I could have gotten the 86% with the 11%. I just would have had to fix this one to 10% for the first one, change it to 11%, or I could have fixed this one and just, so you could have played around with it, but you could have gotten the same answers with GoalSeek. The only thing with GoalSeek is it doesn't save it in the Scenario Manager. So to save things in your Scenario Manager, you have to use Solver. In Solver, I could have played around with multiple variables at the same time. Instead of having a set number in mind, like 0, I could have set the goal to a minimum or a maximum, which is kind of nice. And I can also add constraints. So Solver and GoalSeek are very similar, except for Solver has more options for you. Make sure you understand the difference between the two. All right, so now we are on step 4. It says display the Solver dialog box. Oh, I'm sorry, we're on step 5. 6, I mean. Sorry. All right, so we're on step 6. It says create a summary worksheet. So I'm going to go to what if. Oops. The reason why it's not allowing me is because I must be clicked somewhere that I shouldn't be. So I'm going to click kind of on a blank cell, go to Scenario Manager. I'm going to say, give me a summary. The results, I want, in particular, I want to know the gross profit loss. So yes. And it's going to add in a new worksheet with the scenario summary and the original values and the change values. I'm going to go back to projected income, and it wants me to change these back to 1 and 10%. Right, so that was step 6. Step 7 says, hey, now we want you to create a line chart using A2 through M3. A2 through M3. Hold down your control button, and A8 through M8. Oops. Okay, let me try that again. So it wants these A2 through M3 and A8 through M8. And I'm going to go to insert. I'm going to insert a line chart. Let's look at the directions. Change the chart title to expected break even. And we want it in cell B22. That's it. Next, I'm going to go to my sales chart. Sales worksheet. And I'm stuck on step 9. I'm going to make sure I have my data analysis toolpath. Remember, that was in file, options, add-ins with the solver. So hopefully you added it in with your solver. Right now it's saying, hey, I want to insert a moving average into this area right here that says, hey, what is the average of the past, let's see what number they said, of the past 7 sales data points, okay? 7 days. Okay, so I'm gonna go to data, data analysis. I'm gonna pick moving average, click OK. My input range, that is what do you want me to average? So I want it to average A2 through, not quite, B49, or B2 through B49, because when I highlighted it, I highlighted B2, which is the title. I'm going to say, yes, there are labels in the first row. If I started with B3, I wouldn't put that. The interval, they said 7. And output range, that's where do I want it to go? I want it to go starting right here at C3. So for output range, you just indicate where you want it to start. You press OK. And notice how it says NA for the first few. Remember that it's going to say that because, right, this one says, hey, average the last 7 sales points. Well, there's only 1. Here, there's only 2, right? So you don't have 7 until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it can't average until this point right here. Right, now I'm going to, oops, sorry. Let's go back to data analysis. It also wanted me to insert a sales trend chart at the same time. So I'm going to say, hey, I want you to give me a chart output. I'm going to press OK. Going to press OK. Here is my chart. And then it wants me to move it to a new chart, a new worksheet. So I'm going to say move chart to a new sheet and name it sales trend chart. Let me go get the directions. Okay. So I just did, we're on step 11. On the sales trend chart worksheet, click one time to select the horizontal axis and display the source dialog box. All right, so it doesn't want these to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's not right. So now I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I'm on my chart, so I get these chart tools. I'm going to go to design. I'm going to say select data. And where it says 1 through 47, I don't want to say that. So I'm going to say edit. I'm going to go back to my sales chart because here they had the data points. So I'm going to highlight, but I'm going to start highlighting where I had my first number, 5586. And I'm going to highlight all the way down because that's where I want it to say these dates here. I'm going to press OK. So now these should say dates. So I'm going to press OK. That looks good. But it doesn't want that format. It wants a different format. So I'm going to double click there to go to my axis options. I am going to go down to number. And for date, I'm going to say, no, I don't want it to be in that format. I want it to be in this format right here. Okay. Last but not least, it says, hey, on this same worksheet, step 12, change the horizontal category axis title to date. So instead of data point, I want this to say date. On the vertical axis, set the minimum. So I'm going to click on the vertical axis, and it should open up the axis elements. If it doesn't, then you can just go to design, add chart element, and go to axis. Right. So I'm here. I'm going to say, hey, I want to change the axis so that the minimum is 4,000. And I want to insert a custom footer with a name in the left-hand section. So because I'm clicked on the chart, I don't want to click custom footer yet. I want to click out of the chart. So I'm saying, hey, I want you to format the worksheet, not just the chart. I'm going to go to insert or page layout. And I'm going to insert my custom footer with the file name in the left-hand section. You might want to save at this point. So that was steps 9 through 12. Now let's go to the next one, which is schedules. All right, so we already did step 12. Step 13 says, on this worksheet, I'm going to close this. In cell F3, enter a COUNTIFs function. So here, they're saying, hey, I want you to look at this data, and I want to use find Alicia. Once you find Alicia, I want to know how many shifts she has during the day. So, because the title says day shifts, right? So, before you complete this, I really want you to take a moment and figure out how would you do this manually. Before you can build a function, you have to know what you're asking the function to do. Don't just build a function by reading the directions. You need to figure out how to do it manually as well. So if I was looking at this data, I would look for Alicia. And if I saw Alicia, then I would also look to see if the shift was day. So notice how I'm talking it out. I'm saying, okay, if I see Alicia and it's day, then I want to count it. So if Alicia, I'm going to write out my thoughts, and day, count. Okay, so those are the things that I'm wanting the function to do. So let's actually go through and manually find Alicia and count the days. So there's one. We're looking for Alicia. Here's another one, 2. Hopefully I don't miss any. This is a lot of data. 3. Oh, that's not a day. Alicia, Alicia, where are you? Here's some more Alicias. 4. I think I missed one. Let's double check. Oh, there it is. 5. So I really encourage you guys to, before you build these functions, figure out, okay, what is the answer to the question without building any functions. So I know that this should say 5. So let's build a function that'll give me that answer. So I'm going to say equals, I want to count overall. I want to know how many. So that's a count function. I have multiple criteria, so I'm going to say count ifs because I have multiple criteria. If I just had one criteria, I would leave off the s. So criteria range 1. It doesn't matter which one you start with. You can start with shift or the server. Let's just start with the server. I'm going to highlight that area. Oh, they were nice enough to name that range. If they had not named that range, and I know that I'm going to want to use that function all the way down, I would press the F4 button, but because it's named, I don't need to worry about absolute reference. Criteria, I want it to say Alicia. I'm going to, instead of typing in her name, which would work, I'm going to highlight her name because I want to be able to use this function all the way down. So the next one I want it to say Artie. So I'm going to just click on her, the E3. Criteria range 2 would be the shift. So I want the shift to say day. And again, they already named it, so I don't have to worry about absolute references. And I want this to say day. So I'm going to type in the word day, make sure it's spelled correctly. Oops, I pressed enter on accident. Close your quotations and parentheses and press enter and hope and pray you get 5. Right? You can now pull that all the way down. You might want to just double check. What is another way that I could have accomplished this? Well, to get these same answers, remember we have something called pivot tables. So this is why I told you pivot tables are really awesome. We also could have done an insert pivot table where it looks up all this data. We can say, I'm going to just put it in this worksheet right here, give it a range. Remember, it starts blank, so I could have said, hey, I want you to look at the servers, and I want you to figure out how many shifts they have, and it'll count the number of shifts, and then, sorry, no. Sorry, give me a second. All right, so I could have said, hey, look at the servers. Let's, and also look at the different shifts. I have day shift and evening shift, and tell me how many shifts. So Alicia has 5 day shifts. Artie has 1 day shift. Hopefully this kind of coincides. I know that Jerry should have 2 day shifts, so on and so forth. So I could have gotten the same answers with a pivot table, but for this particular grader, they particularly want you to have to use nested functions. Right. Now this one is kind of complicated. You kind of need to read the directions to see what it is they're asking. What are they asking? They're asking how many people have 2 to 5 shifts. How many do they have 2 to 5 shifts? They didn't build this function the way that I would have. They want you to use an AND function. Just using an AND function just says, hey, do they have 2 to 5 shifts? The response is going to be either true or false. So I'm going to say equals and I want to know, okay, oops, I forgot the equal sign, equals and logical, remember logical function needs a less than, greater than, or equal to symbol. So I want to know, okay, is this number greater than or equal to 2? And because I want it to be between 2 and 5, I'm going to look at that same number, and I want it to be less than or equal to 5. Okay, so that'll tell me yes, that number is between 2 and 5, or no. So should this one be true or false? This one should be false because it's not between 2 and 5. True or false? Well, that should be true. When we pull that down, just make sure that these make sense. So is 6 between 2 and 5? No. So it's going to say false. Okay. So again, this is where you should really figure out what should it say here and then build your function from there. Let's zoom in a little bit. All right, this one is saying Monday or Tuesday. So again, I have to really look at the directions because I'm not really quite sure what they mean by Monday or Tuesday. So let's take a look. So for J3, enter in a COUNTIFs function to calculate the number of Monday shifts each server is scheduled to work. But it says or. So how many shifts do they have on Monday or Tuesday? So basically I'm going to say, hey, Alicia, I'm looking for Alicia. Is it Monday? No. Alicia, Monday or Tuesday? No. So here, this is again where you really want to take a look and try to figure out what they're trying to ask. So for this first one, I'm looking for Alicia. And I want to know, okay, is it a Monday or Tuesday shift? Yes. Okay, Alicia, Monday, Tuesday. Nope, that's Thursday. Oh, this is in order of days of the week, so that's nice. So I only have to look at the first few. Okay. But because it's an and, I would count it if it was Monday or if it was Tuesday, correct? So this is going to be a COUNTIFs. Why ifs? Because I want multiple criteria. So criteria range 1, I want you to look at server. They named that range, so we can just use the named range server. I want it to be Alicia for the first one. And I want it to be on a Monday or Tuesday. So I need this range right here, which I think is named day, but I forget, to be Monday or Tuesday. I could use a nested OR function, but they want me to use 2 COUNTIF functions. So for day, I'm just going to do Monday, M-O-N, because that's how they name it here, in quotation marks. And I'm going to add that to everything the same. Tuesday, T-U-E. So I'm going to say, hey, count the Mondays, and then count the times that you see her on Tuesdays. Press enter, and it says 1. We can use that function all the way down. Right. For K3, again, I need to read the directions because I'm not quite sure what they mean by eligible. Eligible if what? So let's go figure it out. So it says enter in an if function with a nested AND function. So they're nice, and they said, hey, here's a hint. Use these 2 functions to determine which employees are scheduled for at least 2 to 5 shifts, including Monday or Tuesday. Okay. So we want to know if And so what is my logical one? So and is if I want multiple of the criteria to be true. So if this is true, because this is a logical function already, the and function is already this. These are already in true false. I don't need to put equals to anything. This is the only time when your logical function doesn't need an equals, less than, or greater than symbol is if what you're referencing already has true false. Okay. In my logical 2, I want this to be greater than or equal to 1, at least 1. Okay. If that, so I'm going to close my and. What value do I want it to be true? So that's the difference between an if function and an and function, or just a regular Boolean function. An if function allows me to state what I want it to say if it's true and what I want it to say if it's false, and doesn't allow me to do that. It just gives me that's true false. So true, I want it to say eligible. Hopefully I spelled that right, eligible, comma, and if false, it says it wants it to be blank. So to be blank, if I leave it like this, right, and it's false, it'll literally say false because I didn't say what to put, so it just defaulted into false. So I have to put comma, and to enter in blank text, I just enter in 2 quotation marks with nothing inside it. And let's pull that back down. And so now, when you do that, it'll be blank if it was false. So let's take a look. All right, so for this one, it was, they didn't have 2 to 5 shifts, so it should be blank. This one did have 2 to 5 shifts, but they didn't have a Monday or Tuesday shift, so it's blank. So only the people that have both of these with this number greater than 1 and a true statement here are eligible. All right, next, but last but not least, we have service awards. This one is a really tricky one. All right, so they're saying, hey, here are the number of comments, and the more positive comments you are, we're going to create an incentive program. So if you have 30 or more comments, then you get the highest bonus of 75. So for this person, they should have a bonus of 75. So I want to enter in a function here that says, hey, what are your bonuses depending on the number of positive company. So I'm going to start with equals. And this is an ifs function. They even tell me it's an ifs function, so that's kind of nice. I'm going to just go in order of what they say. I could go backwards, it doesn't matter. So it says comments of 30 or more. So if this one is greater than, or comments of 30 is greater than 30, then I want you to enter in 75. All right. The original direction said of 30 or more, but when I did that, it marked it wrong. So whoever built it, what they really meant to say is more than 30. Okay. So if they got more than 30 comments, then you give them 75. What's our next logical test? Well, if this is greater than 25, then I want them to get a bonus of $50. I'm sorry. Because this isn't just a number, it has the money sign, I have to put quotations around it because it's going to be treated as text. And then if this is greater than 20, then they're going to get a bonus of 25. And then if this is less than 20, then they don't get anything. So the bonus will be, remember to put in something blank. I just have quotation marks with nothing inside. Close my parentheses, hope and pray. So this person, they shouldn't have gotten anything. So it should be blank. This person, it was more than 30, so they should get something. This person more than 30, so they should get the highest. This person was exactly 25, so they get 25, so on and so forth. So just double check the awards paid. All right, that is the end of this grader. Hopefully this was helpful. Have a good day.